Recording in progress.
The Lewes African American Heritage Commission is now called to order. Good evening. First of all, Happy New Year, and we pray that you will continue to do well and be well this whole year. And the first thing on our agenda, are there any announcements that you have, Ms. Trina, or you?
The City Hall will be closed on Monday, January 20th in observance of Martin Luther King Day, and we will also be closed on February 17th in observance of President's Day.
Thank you.
And the other announcements, Reverend Edwards and Bishop Jones have been excused for this meeting this evening, and signing on now, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Signing on now. And the December, the Lewes African American Heritage Commission did participate in the City of Lewes Christmas Parade, and we enjoyed that immensely. Again, to mention that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday is January 20th, and we hope that everyone would observe and honor his legacy accordingly. We also have Black History Month upcoming in February, and on our agenda there are many attachments of the different items for Black History Month that will be happening as well. And one I do want to mention that we'll be talking about a little later on in the agenda is the Historic Lewes Speaker Series with speaker, our very own Commissioner Daryl Daisy on Thursday, February 13th. And many other activities going on for the month of February for Black History Month. Again, you may see those going across the screen right now, and bring your attention to those. I think that's it for announcements.
Are there any other announcements? Okay, being none, we will move on to the minutes. The minutes are attached, and we are ready to take action on the minutes. What's your pleasure? Yes, here.
You received them.
Motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second it.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the minutes be approved as written. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Hey, Sister Lot. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Amen. Item D, historic marker. The Peter Lewes marker, as you know, we've been working on that, or we started working on that several years back, and they had change of administration at the State Archive Office. Ms. Moores is the new lady, Victoria, I think her name is, and she has communicated that they are now in the text writing process of the marker. And I imagine that means making, because we had to submit text, so I imagine that means reading it, making any adjustments on the text. So we're excited about that, and because of the changeover, she expressed that they have been so backlogged with everything, and that's why we have not been approved yet. Well, we're approved, that's why we haven't had any concrete evidence of our approval. So we're excited about that.
And we know that the process is a lengthy one anyway in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, the process is lengthy. The thing was, as we said, we started this, oh my God, I don't remember, it was way before COVID, because I invited Marcos to come and meet with us. and that was a long process. But again, we got pushed back. But I didn't know we'd have to go through the same timeline of process because everything was in order. Yeah.
Reverend McCaffrey, I've been involved with a couple of historic markers, and when they say they do the text writing, what they're doing is they're condensing it to fit onto that plaque. I would suggest to make sure we see it, though, or you see it specifically, before it actually gets engraved.
Yeah.
To make sure, because they have to cut to make sure everything fits, but you want to make sure it still conveys the same message, you know. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. I did have the privilege of having a marker placed at St. George Cemetery, and so, the process, and we will definitely make sure that what we requested is granted.
Can I speak a little bit about markers, just to keep on the same note? So we're talking about a state marker here, and there's, I think over the last few years, there's been an issue, nothing to do with this state marker, although this has taken a long time, too. A lot of people have been concerned about requests going through the state for state markers. That it's lengthy, they don't grant a lot of them, and people have suggested, why doesn't the city have its own marker program? You know, that we can more swiftly approve. Black Harry Spring is an example of that. And I think on the same workshop next week at 10 o'clock, of the 4 or 5 things on the agenda, pretty sure this is going to be on the agenda. Not this specific one, but the idea of the city considering a city-sponsored marker program. And so just something to keep in mind, because we're not the only ones who've gotten a little frustrated with the state program.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. Now, the other thing that happened with us, because the markers were funded through the state, and the person who was our senator left office, and that pushed us
Ernie
back.
Lopez was very active. Now,
Yeah, that pushed us back.
Yeah.
So, but the money had already been allocated, so they couldn't
Yeah.
say, oh, no. But the question I would ask about this city, I think that's great, but would that preclude a person from also having a state marker if they wanted one? Okay,
That's something
good.
we'll discuss, but I don't believe so, no.
Yeah, good.
No. I think the whole point of it is that
So-
there's a lot of things we'd like to recognize and mark, and and it's,
And take the load off of, yeah, I got
Expedite.
you.
Right.
And
Get it done.
Yeah, get it done, and
yeah.
and then, you know, you wouldn't have to wait. Not only that, but there, as you said, there's a lot of things that we would like to recognize that we can't recognize under the state system because they already have one within so many miles or whatever their criteria is.
Yeah.
But we would,
And the main criteria, and that's why I think also it's a good idea, one of the main criteria is that you can only have one marker
per commission.
per commission or per organization. So even the other things we wanted to highlight, we couldn't do it through the state. So that is good. Yeah.
I think this commission will have some really good guidelines after that workshop next week, and if we recall in record as well, the Black Harry Spring, I've worked directly with Miss Alicia Jones to try and research that, put together something to present to the city. That's being considered next week at the workshop, and once that workshop has been done, that will give perspective to this commission of others that we might, do we go to the state on others? Do we go to the city? We'll have some very good guidelines. It's really sounding like it's a first opportunity that has been brought for local markers, and we hope to find good purchase with that.
Is there any other cities that are considering markers
That's one
that
of the
you're
things
aware
that will be
of?
discussed, is just, because that's always a question, hey, are we out on an island by ourselves, or are other people doing this? Yeah.
The one good thing about you is you can always say, well, we're the first
Yeah.
town in the
We are the
first
first
city.
town in the
That's
first
right,
state, so we can.
So we do everything first. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, and when that is discussed, I'm sure that there will be other members who would be very interested in participating in those conversations as well for the city.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Are there any updates concerning the volunteer research and oral history subcommittees?
Did you have anything, Marcos?
Was able to calculate at the end of 2024 the Voices Heard exhibit through our guidebook and guest book. We calculated 500 visitors in a period of 7 months, which comparatively, as Daryl asked me, how does that compare to some of the other exhibits? The numbers are about the same from 2 previous exhibits hosted at the Lewes History Museum, but in a much quicker period. Saw about the same number in a 7-month period compared to some 12-month-long previous exhibitions. So that tells us there's interest there. As well, data collected is that we should be quite proud as a city, as a organization, as people. 17 different states. We have the typical visitation from Maryland, Virginia, in-state Delaware, New Jersey and such, but also far-flung as far as Colorado, California, and one lone visitor from Mississippi who came and saw the exhibits in History of Lewes. And so those comments that were left behind currently stored at LHS, but if ever to want to be shared with the committee or how us put out, those comments that have been made and such, majority of them quite positive. So certainly an impact was made.
Marcos, didn't we have a visitor from a grandchild or grandson of
Yes.
author or?
I'm losing it in my head now. We had, towards the end of the exhibition, Harlem Renaissance writer in the 1920s whose name has escaped me because it's been a very long day.
Harlem Renaissance?
Yes. Langston Hughes.
Langston Hughes.
there we are.
That's what I was about to say, Langston Hughes.
You knew it would come to me. We had descendants of Hughes come to see the exhibit. Their comments were left behind. And, to briefly summarize, it was beautiful, amazing. Every city should have an exhibit like this, which is just very, very high praise to receive. Yeah.
Nice. I know they have so maybe they will expand your idea, the descendants, because they have a Langston Hughes Library in Jamaica, Queens, run by the community, yeah. Sort of like the Schoenberg in Harlem, that you gather all the Black history, and so I think, yeah, they probably will expand that notion in their mission.
Certainly a chance to reach back out to descendants this year as well.
I asked Marcos how that compared with other exhibits, primarily because obviously, if the Lewes Historical Society is going to continue to focus in areas like this, then the community needs to respond, right, and come out and show up for those things. And I think what he indicated was certainly comparable, if not, even stronger in some areas than than other exhibits. So I think that was great, hearing that from us and hearing that for our group as we propose new things and work with the Lewes Historical Society in the future. So it gives everyone some confidence that what we may all put together will at least be enlightening and be something that's broad as well. So
I'm excited about the new speaker series that is about to commence in February as well for the Daisy Legacy. And I do, from time to time, people ask me, is there a video link of the documentary that was done as well? I know that hasn't materialized at this point, but I do get questions from time to time about, oh, can you send me the video link?
I will be daring enough to put forward, it will be at next month's meeting, that currently in progress video link, or at least expansion of the film into the areas locally of Milton and Rehoboth. And those are nearing completion at this point, and by next meeting should be able to report back on what's happening locally.
The other part of the volunteer research, you want me to continue on, ma'am? Okay, so I think I'm going to just yield to Councilman Saliba on the Delaware 250 grant, and the mayor and city council workshop.
That's a part of old business.
Oh, we're still in, I'm sorry. I am ahead. I'm trying to get out of here.
Amen. Help Jesus. Okay, we're now, so we're finished with.
Sorry, apologies.
That's okay. Thank you, and I too want to echo the pleasure of this committee regarding Lewes Historical Society's effort and work, and not just because I was in it, but because it was
You had the best laugh still. You had a moment where everyone goes, yay!
that it was a good project. And now we're moving on to item F, regarding updates and about the Delaware grant. I guess I'll ask Brother Daisy and,
You said you want, yeah, Cleo, yeah.
No,
I didn't say that.
I'm sorry, that was, I'm going,
I mean, only thing I will say, and I'll let Daryl do the substance of it, is just simply what we discussed previously, in that the application will be for $5,000, but as opposed to the there is a $7,500 request, but $2,500 will come from the budget of the committee, and it was believed by the mayor and council that would have a higher chance of success because it was lower than the $750, and we were matching some of the money, which is typically looked favorably upon by grant organizations who believe that when there's matching money, or the potential grantee has skin in the game and a stake in it, and that's usually a good sign. I believe Daryl has put something together. But I do want to emphasize one thing. In the end, all these grants have to come from the city. We're the ones who will be submitting this, but you'll be getting the money. But typically in these things, because sometimes organizations, they think they're submitting it. They are submitting, but it's got to go through the city.
Because we're city, yeah.
We
come under the city.
Yeah, and it just has to come from the city.
Yeah.
And that's all, yeah.
And Julie has emphasized that for us, so we know that.
Oh, you know that? Okay.
Yeah, we're familiar with that, we know that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, just the update is the last meeting we had, the Lewes African American Heritage Commission approved us moving forward with requesting a $7,500 grant. We understood we had to take that through Parks and Rec and also City Council. We did that. Parks and Recs approved, endorsed, whatever the terminology is. City Council did as well, except for they did inject the part where they thought, I can't remember the councilwoman's name, I'm sorry.
Amy Marasco.
Amy, who's a subject matter expert in this area, grant writing and stuff, she suggested that we go for the lower grant of $5,000 with a $2,500 matching from Lewes the Lewes African American Heritage Commission's budget. That would improve greatly our chances of it being approved. So we made that adjustment. In addition, we did also send the bulk of the application to the Delaware 250 committee to get their feedback, because they kind of offered that in their website. So we asked them for their feedback. They basically told us they thought it was a very strong application. They gave us a couple hints. One was to get the city's endorsement. Of course, if the city's actually submitting it, it's kind of a moot point. And then secondly, they just want to make sure we had the real quotes in there, whereas what I submit was sort of estimates, just to make them, give them some idea. Other than that, they thought it was a good submission, so I thought, in my thoughts is that it's got a pretty good chance of being approved, and so hopefully we can move forward with that signage. I mean, I would love to have that sign up by the summer season, quite frankly. I don't know all the production time, but it doesn't seem like it's impossible to do if we get it approved in February. But, I know there's still steps. Yeah, so I'm not going to be overly optimistic, but I know there's still steps. But hopefully that helps the Johnny Walker Beach Subcommittee in terms of advancing some of the cause. Because one of the things is everyone sees Johnny Walker Beach, but they don't know what that means. Right. And this sign, at least, I think it will take it a long way in telling all those visitors what that means, why it was named that, and what it means as to the African American community, and especially historically. So I'm happy it's moving forward. It seems to be moving forward. But I will get Julia everything she asked me for, and she will have it in plenty of time to submit by February.
Please do, because she will yell at me.
No, I will.
She yells at me, and I got to,
I'm going to pretty much submit what Delaware 250 thought was good. So,
That's fine.
Do you know the time frame? Is it from February to January or March to?
Well, we have to have it submitted in mid-February.
February 15th.
15th.
Yeah.
So do you know if their fiscal year is like normal?
The state of Delaware, it's July 1.
July.
They're July 1.
So it would have to be used in that fiscal year?
No. The way we have a certain period of time after we're awarded the grant, so we won't even know that we're awarded the grant until March, maybe even further out than that.
I think it was a month later.
yeah.
Okay, and
It
then
was
we
months
They have
have,
another grant cycle,
Yeah.
right?
right, but we
Yeah.
can't apply for the next grant cycle
Right.
until the first grant is
But we
completed.
have we have a
Right.
specific amount of time to utilize
Yeah, I believe it's until
that,
the
yeah.
end of 2025, 2026, yes.
And I'm asking because I'm not sure that, and Commissioner Trina can clarify, or Ms. Kay, that has a site been designated, and what does that entail, city? Do we have to, what process we have to go through to get the site designated where the sign will be?
It needs to go through DENREC. DENREC needs to approve wherever we're going to be placing it on the beach. And then it doesn't really have to go through anything other than DENREC. Mayor and council has already approved that the sign be placed with DENREC's approval, and Parks and Rec has already also approved the sign. So it's pretty much just DENREC that we need to go
It
through.
was conditional on DENREC.
Right.
For the location?
Yeah, the
Correct.
location, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Daisy, you continue.
No, I'm pretty much done with it. So again, I'm going to get Miss Julia what she needs by, see, you guys got me saying miss again.
Don't call me miss.
It's a southern thing, guys. That's a southern thing. Anyway, I'll get Miss Julia what she needs in the next couple days, and we'll move it forward.
Okay.
Well, we certainly appreciate all the hard work you did and successful work, and for anyone who assisted you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
a lot of assistance,
Yeah,
a
thank
lot
you.
of assistance.
And the Johnny Walker Beach interpretive display, is there anything, update on that?
Other than we talked about the last meeting, I don't know if, we talked about making sure we got approvals for the photographs. We talked about some things we'll work out on that end. I haven't seen any quotes yet. I know you may have those.
I do.
But I haven't seen them yet, so I can't tell you what to quote. But one of the good things I did hear from the earlier meeting was that there's a reasonable cost for someone to actually create the
Design it.
graphics and design of the sign, because that's clearly not a skill set that I have, and so.
And they'll be able to place everything and let us know. She said that if we use that service, it's only $500
Yeah.
on average more.
That's
And
fairly reasonable.
the kiosk itself only came to about $700.
The actual sign was.
The actual kiosk only came to $700.
We're gonna have to make that some
So-
bling around that.
You know the size of it?
I have it in my office.
Okay. That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. Okay.
And they also, we did talk about them possibly, I don't know, can they actually install it?
I believe they can, but it might be better for us to have our maintenance department install.
Okay.
But that's something that we would discuss later on down the line. We need to figure out how Denrick wants us to install it, and then see if it's better for us to do it or to have the company do it.
I know there was also a question about the pictures, could they be changed? And the answer is no. And the reason for it is because if you put a sign out there that you actually change pictures, it wouldn't be able to withstand the weather out there. You'd really have to put something that's concrete, otherwise it's just going to get, if it can open, something's going to find its way in it, I mean, that's really where it comes down to. So we like the QR code as a way of communicating additional information, additional photographs, and even possibly videos, because you guys have talked about, I know we've had some oral histories, and bits of those oral histories may talk about Johnny Walker Beach, and if you put together a little, sort of a montage of people's recollection of their time at the beach. I mean, I'm not creative that way, but other people like Blue might be able to do that.
I do have a question, because when we're talking about photographs, talking about sun beaming down on photographs, and how can we protect and prevent some fading of photographs? Or is that something that?
It wouldn't affect, we're not actually putting photographs
using-
on the kiosk. The kiosk will have photos, but it's a design, it's a digital design
Oh, yeah, no,
that
it's
they'll
not the
do.
real
Yeah, no,
photo.
we're not putting real photos in.
Okay,
No.
That makes sense.
Absolutely not.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that both of you brought those details out, because we definitely need that for our minute. They need to be recorded, so thank you. And now, letters.
Yeah, Trina was actually working on the letters of recommendation. I don't know if you can give an update.
Yes, we did receive one of our two letters officially from Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice, Ms. Charlotte King, who submitted a letter of support and we're looking for one other letter to come through, and I'll contact that individual as well. Mr. Joe Lawson of Speak Out Against Hate organization, a resident of Lewes as well, and hopefully that'll pan out, and if not, I do have Plan B, always, contingency plan.
Again, I can't express our gratitude enough, and we are very pleased of your diligence and your commitment and your ability to get things done. Thank you. Man, we're only on number 2. All right, number 2, draft periodical for Southern Delaware Alliance publication, Black Voices. I might be featured in the next issue. Not featured. I might have an article that I wrote. Amen. Yeah, that's different.
There's a little difference there.
It is a different rate. I won't be featured, but I have an article that I wrote, so it may be in there.
Wonderful. I'm glad you did that.
I can give a brief update, and I'll let Trina go on. We did draft a article for the Southern Delaware Alliance Racial Justice, their February edition of Black Voices, an article about the commission, and it was drafted, and we sent that off to Trina to make sure it was accurate, or somewhat accurate. If you have any update, did they tell you anything?
Because of the submission deadline, it was submitted. Unfortunately, we did miss Miss Julia, listed as the ex officio of our commission, but it was submitted because of the deadline, and it's in our minutes.
Yeah, that's the article.
You said, what about Miss Julia? What was
We listed all of the commissioners,
Yeah.
past and present, and the ex officio, and I happened to miss her name off.
Oh,
of
you
the-
omitted.
Yeah.
Inadvertently.
inadvertently.
And I'll be honest, on the draft.
I
Miss-
thought when you said Miss, you were calling her Miss Julia.
Oh.
Yeah, and on the draft, Miss Julie, I just stole the list from what's on the internet, and on the draft, for some reason, you're not on the internet. So-
I already brought that up.
Okay, yeah, and that's honestly where the miss was, so.
If we go back a little bit, I also, we didn't put, we said the mayor, but we didn't put Tim Baker's name.
No.
Officially said mayor and council.
I think that came from your, somewhere, I think I just stole that from language on your website.
I just wish we had had simply, when we look at this whole thing, reading his deed and tight and was really evident and really talking about it, all at his house. I mean, that's his office in there. Talk about this, really.
Good point, Bill, because I think
Absolutely.
next week, when we highlight also next week to the public and that public, this was, I'm making a note now to make sure we highlight the fact that Ted played the key role in it. Okay, good point.
If you guys haven't figured out yet, I steal shamelessly from many locations. So if you've approved it on your
Not steal,
website, I will take it and assume it's accurate.
You do a good job, Harold. You and Trina do.
But,
So I would believe that the action required is there a vote on approving that it's submitted?
It's already
submitted.
It's already submitted.
Should have been.
I believe at the last meeting, you said you wanted to submit one.
We did discuss,
Yeah.
we discussed it at the last.
And the deadline didn't really
Yeah.
lend itself.
Okay. Number 3, Black History Month is upon us, and we know we have several events planned, and I don't know if y'all want to give a brief talk about that, although this was a main part of our discussion at our last minute meeting.
I can briefly update where we're at in this process. At the last meeting, we approved moving forward with actually, I think it was the October meeting, but we approved moving forward with a Black History Month program. The main topic of the program had to do with the integration of the Lewes school systems. There was an effort to say, could we incorporate like a presentation around the Girl Scouts, but however, I don't think, and Ms. Kay can clarify, I don't think the Girl Scouts ever responded to that request. Oh, be careful.
That's right.
Kay Carnahan, 118 Coleman Avenue. I did contact my friend who works with, she volunteers with the Council of the Chesapeake Girl Scouts. She told me how to submit a query, which I did a couple of times and received no response. So what I did was I started asking around my friends who are genealogical and researcher people, and actually I have discovered that we have a neighbor who worked with your mother on that troop. And she has photos and stories, and she's happy to share them, and it's Deb Hansen of 109 Coleman. She was a co-leader of the troop, and she says she would be very willing and happy to share what she knows. So I was very happy that I was able to find something, since nationally, they weren't really interested in discussing. Yeah, so at least there's a contact, and so.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, Bill.
I had talked to Dal too, that, because my wife is in that picture, and her cousin's in that picture, so my thoughts were, we got the date and whatever, about trying to get them to get some of those, of course, they're women now, but I think that would be a great thing for you. Go ahead.
But to tell the truth, that's what I thought we were doing.
Yeah,
I
well,
thought that they were going to come and do some
Dal and I talked a little
presentation.
bit about it, but I think with those,
Well,
that-
along with the history.
along with history, so I'm going to go ahead, go forward. It's on the 22nd, right?
Well, let me just clarify.
Go ahead.
The original concept was, it actually came up at Parks and Rec, where the Girl Scouts were looking for projects. And I remember one of the things, we introduced the concept of, let's have current Girl Scouts actually interview some of those Girl Scouts from the 60s, right? The ones who were in the segregated troop, and get their story. Because quite frankly, we don't have their story, right? I know some people have it, but we don't know when it started. There's not a lot of information yet. The ladies have it, but we don't have it, right? Unlike school integration, which we do have. We have the information. So without the Girl Scouts interviewing them, I have a hard time seeing how we could do that on February 22nd. But let me just say this. March is actually not only Women's History Month, March is also Scout Month, National Scouting Month. So in my mind, given what you're proposing, Bill, what we're thinking, it's not, remember, we only have an hour plus?
We have 2 hours.
We have 2 hours total, right? On February 22nd, all right? I'm a little concerned, if 2 hours, you're talking about an hour or 90 minutes of a presentation, and then we also have food coming in. That has to be included in the 2 hours. So I'm a little concerned we're not giving either of the topics enough time. That's my big concern, because both are big, to me, both are really good topics, and I think they should have their own program. Unless,
Okay, let me ask you this. Your friend, a neighbor. At some point, I'd like to see if, and I like your deal. You're saying March is Girl Scout month, and I'm still thinking
Works
it would
well.
be very effective. I really do. My thoughts are to see if we could get her to, we kind of, like as we're doing now, sit down and talk about this and get those, like I said, women now to really agree to come and maybe talk with her prior to this event. But if we think that might be a good deal, and I like your deal, you're saying time-wise and whatever, you gotta make sure that we're doing it right. So March with the Girl Scouts, I still think that's a great idea.
we're willing to do it in
Great
March.
tie-ins.
Yeah.
Maybe run that by her and just see what she thinks, and let's,
Okay, I'll have
Okay,
her
okay.
I'll have her contact you all about this so that
Okay, that's
you
fine.
can figure out how to move forward
I
with
think
it,
it'd be
and then.
wonderful. I really do.
I think Deb may have been, she was a co-leader with my mother in Dover, though, not in Lewes.
Okay.
That I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Black Girl Scouts in Dover, it was all overall Girl Scouts, because Deb's too young to have done that back then.
But when your wife was in it, was the troop integrated?
No, it was segregated.
It was also segregated.
Yeah, but I know Deb's only a few years older than me, and Bill,
Go on.
it wouldn't match up time-wise.
I talked to her about that, so I think it's something, I like your
I
idea.
do, I think it
Yeah.
should happen.
Yeah.
And
So-
I did,
ahead.
I found out that Miss Angie Ward, her mom, Miss May
May?
Ward,
Okay.
was a leader as well. And there are some pictures with Andra and Valerie Scott, and Celeste Ball, who were all in that picture, in that photo of the Black Girl Scouts. And Miss Kitty Perry's mother was a leader as well.
Yeah.
of
I'd
the
love to
Black
dig
Girl
into that. The issue is, I've heard people say, I was in the Scouts, I was a leader, I was there. but we just don't have the story.
And they-
That was my
and
concern,
listen,
yeah.
Trina, say names, and they certainly would have been at different times.
Times, yeah.
They really would have.
Miss Perry's mother certainly was the right
wouldn't be-
age for that.
They were all in the black.
Yeah.
It was just, under Miss Kitty, it was a black Girl Scout
Yeah.
troop.
But was it legally segregated then, or what?
Yeah, segregation was still the law of Delaware.
And
Do you know what year she's talking about?
It's been the early 60s, early 1960s.
That Trina's talking about with
Early
Celeste
1960s,
and-
yeah. Because I mean, I know that only because we moved in 1965, so my mom was gone in 1965 from the troops. And my sister was a part of that. My sister would have been 6 years old in 1962, which would have been the entry age for the Girl Scouts of 6 years old. And so it had to be right around that time period where they started the segregated troop in Delaware, in Lewes. So I know that much, but what I don't know is why they started, who started it. I know my mom was involved, but others were involved. I don't know what motivated it. I don't know how it went. Did they have any issues?
I don't
They
know.
never really talked anything
I
about
don't
it.
know why that I'm thinking, I don't know if my wife, someone told me about wanting to get into Girl Scouts and not being allowed, and your mother going to Chesapeake or somewhere and not getting any help and just said, I'm going to do it myself.
I'd love to hear those stories. but
Okay.
That's I think it warrants its own thing,
Sure,
honestly.
sure.
I don't think splitting the time
I'm
is.
going to do my best to see what I can really
Absolutely.
find out.
So what we have right now is, on this February 22nd, we have 5 panelists who've agreed to participate, who were part of that first wave of black students who integrated the Lewes Public Schools prior to it being mandatory integration.
Who are they?
There are there are 3 Allen children,
Okay.
which is, it's Gloria, who was the first African-American graduate from Lewes High School. There's Wendy, who I think she was in 5th grade. And then there's Jimmy Allen, who I don't know what age he was at the time. And then there's my 2 sisters, Sarah, who entered school in 1st grade. That was her first year in school. And my sister Debbie, who was a kindergartner. So there's a pretty wide range of ages, and I think it'll make a good discussion. I have a timeline of what happened, and just for the group, you know, Lewes, Delaware formally integrated schools in 1966, but in 1961, for some reason, they allowed voluntary integration, and there were 2 families who did it. They just sent all their children to school, and it was an interesting time. They have different experiences. It'll be interesting to hear those experiences, you know.
It will be. So we have on the agenda, it says Lewes School segregation. And you're really talking about integration.
Integration, yes.
Because,
That was my error.
that's
Yeah.
all right. I just want it clear.
Just
for
the
the
flip
record.
side of it, right?
No, well, because there are some important things, and Trina has a lot of information that the education subcommittee gathered about the segregated time and how they had to go to Wilmington and stay with different families, or they had to go
Something a
to
little
go to
a little
school.
different.
That
Yeah,
kind of
it's
stuff.
different, a
Yeah.
little different, yeah.
So that's
You're right, you're right.
okay. Thank you. All right. Are there
Well,
any?
I think maybe we need to vote on something, because what I'm hearing is we'd like to have a program in March around the the segregated Girl Scouts. Is that a fair motion
Yes.
to make?
I'll second.
Okay.
Been properly moved and second that we have a presentation in March about the Black Girl Scouts. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Okay, we have not, well, if we have had any discussion about the bylaws and the goals and missions, and I think it's something we need to discuss as a group. So, but is there any update?
I don't have any update. The whole purpose was to really make sure that everyone reviews annually, because that's one of our one of the things that we're supposed to do is review them annually, and if there is no adjustment, then, approve as is, or if there is some adjustment, so if we need to take another time to come back to review it a little bit more, then we can do that, or we can,
I've noticed other groups, when they have these discussions, they create a special meeting for it, because they take a long while. I've seen other groups have their own special meeting just to talk about this. It's public, but they literally.
Well, we're permitted to have special meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are.
but that, because I don't know how you have it in this meeting, it's just take too long.
not really
Oh, no?
had a special meeting, or we just present it if there's any changes, but we can. It doesn't mean, just because we haven't, doesn't mean that we can't.
I mean, do we have it on the agenda because it's something relevant, like there's some push to do it?
No, we just said that we would review it annually and
Oh, okay.
around January, around the first of the year.
All right, maybe you don't then.
Something that all the committees typically do. Yeah.
So we will table that for further discussion. And also, we are someone's considering some possible action on the website.
Where are we? I'm sorry. The website. Okay. Yeah, we did, the other thing is that the city is also looking at, updating the website. Is there anything that we can make to improve our website? Any updates or upgrades, or anything that we can possibly have Blue include in our website? So that's another thing for us to consider. I think I just want the commission to take a look at the website and to see if there's additional things that we can do to make our website pop.
Suggestion, but I'll wait until the next new business to bring that up to the website.
So just to keep that on everyone's mind, and we can also bring that up in our next meeting.
Thank you. New business, Marcos?
No, so just, we're thrilled to have, next month, to have Daryl be our speaker for this. Puts to new business, and what I'm hearing from what we're talking about, that there's been requests from the public to have public access to the Voices film. We certainly stress in this commission the education and the rareness opportunity that we're going to have the folks on that panel, and as well the fact that the speaker series that Historic Lewes does takes place in the Rollins Room. Maybe it's here, maybe it comes to this commission, maybe I'm wrong, but I'd like to just propose and put forward, how do we begin to make the website pop, how to share this history throughout the different organizations, how do we begin filming our educational lectures, the events like January 22nd, just introduce, because there's a financial aspect to that, there's a who hosts these videos. Maybe it's a collaborative effort of how do we get this information out. We'll make it pop, as you said, if we share our history.
For the February 22nd?
I'm talking February 13th, February 22nd, and other activities moving ahead, other things that we do. How do we put together a schedule, or I'm looking at the fact that this is, here we are today through live Zoom, through, it seems that the city has those resources in this location, and also those resources are in the Rollins Room. How do we begin, to put forward, let's say when there's something there, we make it public. It's an initiative.
And I know that we budgeted for camcorders, and it was for that very reason, that we can capture things. And those type things, I'm thinking that could be added on the on the website. But at any rate, I'm sure that they invited the press, and the press can probably share something with us from the event.
Yeah, I mean,
And we
we'll invite-
can maybe put that on the webs.
We'll invite the press. I don't know if we've really thought much about a recording. I know we had a brief conversation about recording February 22nd.
Usually, when in my other life, I will make an announcement to the press and do a little small press release saying that. But we it would be great to have a flyer created as well,
that'll happen.
probably about now, so
Yeah.
that we can start
Distributed.
distributing around on social media and what have you. And so, I would be happy to contact the press like I normally do, and like when I do church events and stuff like that.
I told Marcos I can get a flyer out pretty quickly and get that to you. I think the other issue he brought up was the filming of the actual event itself. I know we maybe talked. It's at the elementary school, and I don't know what the filming capabilities or anything like that are.
We just would have to secure
It's another
somebody
source
to
that
do it.
has, yeah.
Public. I'm gonna, you say it's the 22nd, right?
February 22nd.
Second, not
about
13th, 22nd.
Yeah, 13th is, I'm speaking at the
Speaker series.
series for the Lewes Histories
I'm gonna-
Historical Society.
Talk to someone there and attempt to do it tomorrow. We do have equipment there. I mean, we have IT. So I'm gonna see if I can get somebody to do it.
Could you repeat that for the record?
I am going to see if I can ask one of the IT people in the Cape and Open District to possibly film that for us. I know that we even have kids that are in that pathway that are supervised by teachers. So I'm going to see what I can do.
Yeah, because obviously that one and the one we do in March.
Sure.
That would be
I'll
great.
be honest with you, I've
to record.
also, having spent some time there, the Sussex Tech has that pathway as well, and their pathway is even a little more defined in that. I mean, every morning at Sussex Tech, somebody gets on the TV there and does the morning news like that. Really? And it's a pathway for them, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask them both.
It's great.
Thank you, that'll be great. Some time ago, Trina and I had met with a guy that we were considering to be an intern who is, like you say, on that path. And I'm just thinking that if we had a means for stipends, then we could probably get someone to do that for us.
I do know that we do have still, plenty of funds in our budget. So I know the budget is the budget year ends when?
March 30th, so the new fiscal cycle starts April 1st.
Perfect. You can get both.
Programs in by March 30th.
Forward even to with Juneteenth coming up as well too, now coming to the 4th annual. I'm a millennial, but I'm speaking for the Zoomers and the Alphas here, that I'm the old generation now. It's you hear about things visually, so I mean to get what this commission is doing on video, I think will take us very far.
Did you say Zoomers?
Yeah, Gen Z or the Zoomers.
I never heard that one before. I thought-
They use Zoom meetings?
They use Zoom
okay,
meetings, and
that's
because I think they move so much.
No, I think these two stories that we're going to tell have not been told recently. And I think, and they may not, and as Trina's often said, you got to catch people before they go away, right? And they're still here with us, and they're still very much willing to share. And I think we need to take advantage of that and to capture that,
No doubt, you're so right. You know, the lady that we got the Johnny Walker picture from in Ellendale. guy got the picture, and then we talked to him about wanting to go back to talk with her. And he said, Coach, she passed away. And you are exactly right. You get it when you get it. I tell you that, at least I know for the panel, for the school integration, they're very anxious to have this discussion. And and from Bill's comments, it seems like the Girl Scouts are too. So,
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And just in interest of time, we have just a couple of more things on the agenda. Included in your packet is a copy of the consent form for Johnny Walker Subcommittee. Trini, you want to briefly talk about that?
Yes, we had mentioned a meeting or so ago about having a consent form for any type of media that we wanted to include in our archives or even in our display, and having that permission from those who we needed to get that permission from. And I'd like Ms. Kay, if you would talk a little bit more about that, and if you could just sum it up in a few sentences.
Just a couple of sentences. All right, Kay Carnahan, 118 Coleman Avenue. So what I did was I consulted with City Solicitor Alex Burns to find out the best path forward to gathering information and having it be on the Johnny Walker Beach sign. For the information, he suggested going with information that is in the public domain. And then for the photo consent form, he suggested getting permission where possible, in a photo where we don't know the source, where someone just found it. We still document that as best as we can. In the last hour, at the Johnny Walker Beach Subcommittee meeting, the suggestion was made by the Reverend Deborah McCafferty to put the word media between any and presentation on the third line, and Mr. Daisy would like to emphasize the use in the Johnny Walker Beach sign as its primary use. So I will send him a digital copy of the photo consent form tomorrow so that you can get that and then edit as you see fit, and then I'll submit that to the city solicitor for one more round, and then we'll have this form final review at next month's Johnny Walker Beach Subcommittee meeting. Thank you.
Can I ask Marcos? Marcos, I know the Lewes Historical Society has a consent form. Any way you can send me a draft, with a template of that?
It's interesting you say, because I'm looking at this, we're redoing our consent form ourselves this year for our field trips and such. And
Marcos, I think you're...
Sorry. I say interesting you asked me that because we're actually redoing our photo consent form specifically for field trips and educational experiences. This is way more detailed than what we have now in a really, really good way. And I was going to ask a question, if I may, just because I've not seen it. Sorry to keep making you get up and get down.
That's right.
The name, the address as such, is that being collected from the person who is submitting the photo? Or
Yes.
is that... Okay. Any reasoning, may I ask? I'm just wondering if there's other details towards why those details are being collected.
This was what the city solicitor said we would need in order to have a complete record of where it came from. I would
Understood.
assume, in case, this is probably drawn from case law where there was a problem, where an
Gotcha.
image was used in a way that somebody did not approve.
Gotcha.
So this way we could know exactly where it came from. Some photos, also the image description, because
Yes.
our particular issue is that we don't know who the photos are of.
Gotcha.
And I suspect when people see them, they may recognize themselves. I don't know. So we'll find that out. But so I think so many, not in this case, but people take images off the web. I mean, you don't know where things come from. Luckily, with this project, we know because people have said or have brought them, so or have gone through their photo albums and taken them out. They've been very generous with personal things. So this was what Alex said he thought would be appropriate for the city to have on file in case there was a question later about sourcing.
No, thank you, because that's exactly as I see this, and Dale, you brought that up, is that we've experienced some of those problems with the consent forms of being incomplete. I'll still send it to you, of course, but I would say this is further along than what we currently have.
Good.
Thank you.
Good, you're very welcome.
Thank you. I don't know, we had a discussion at the last meeting, at the Johnny Walker Subcommittee meeting, and it was determined that this last item, or official item, business item, about the dissolution of Johnny Walker Beach Committee, that they never intended to dissolve it, and I think that after our discussion that they will consider leaving the committees as they are.
It was more intended, in theory, to be more a reorganization of the Lewes African American Heritage Commission, the Johnny Walker Subcommittee, as well as all the other city committees and their subcommittees. So as mentioned earlier, next Thursday at 10 o'clock from a public workshop, I'm not sure what number item this is on the agenda, but there'll be presentations about all the city committees, what they do, what their mission is, some of their accomplishments, and highlight this to the community so the community knows exactly the various committees we have, what they do, and hopefully generate some publicity for the various committees with the media and others, but also an opportunity to potentially recruit people in the community when they find out, for example, the Johnny Walker Pavilion is being under consideration. Perhaps there's a builder out there who may say, I really think it's a great idea, reaches out and says, I'm happy to participate and donate my labor, for the construction of that. So I think that's a good example for this committee. Other committees have similar projects that they may want to highlight to the public as well.
And I just wanted to mention, as I was thinking about this a little bit more and thinking about the Johnny Walker Subcommittee, that we probably can shorten the agenda a little bit more to more geared toward research and things of that nature, instead of a whole subcommittee.
I think that the subcommittee should, as we stated in the other meeting, that because it's we're in a unique position being minorities and having gone through the implications and ramifications and results of segregation and racism, that they've had to put so much time into this subcommittee. And that's why we want to keep them separate. And the reason we discuss things again in the meeting, and I'm just saying this for the record, in this meeting is because they are a subcommittee of the Lewes African American Heritage Commission. So they would have to report what happened in their meeting. So it would have to be discussed twice. But they seemed amenable and understanding of our point, and I think we won't have any problem with that. Thank you. Any public comments, questions? I can't believe we're over time. Y'all not gonna find me, are you? Yes, you are. I know I'm gonna get a bill.
I know time is that sincere. You made a great point about the history. If you talk about the history of public schools, there's an unbelievable editorial in the Gazette this week, and boy, I hope you can get in and read it. But it talks about the beauty of the girl as a principal. I mean, about 6 or 7 years old at the Hockessin College School, and parent basically saying that tired of that bus riding by her and not picking her up. And I heard that Mrs. Gloria Allen's mother basically went to the superintendent here and kind of the same thing, that my kids shouldn't have to go to Jason living right up the street. So I say to you, it's worth getting. It really is.
Get it, right?
Yes.
Are there any other comments? Are there any public comments? Our next meeting date will be on Thursday, February 20th at 6 o'clock. If there's no further business,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Yeah, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.